Pilvi Takala is an artist who lives and works between Berlin and Helsinki. Her video works are based on performative interventions in which she researches specific communities to question social structures. In her practice, she shows that implicit normative rules for behavior are often only revealed through disruption. Takala represented Finland on the 59th Venice Biennial and under many other exhibitions she was part of. So I think now we can maybe hand over and then we enjoy the movie.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here with you guys. So great. Looking forward to what comes out of this. I'm not going to say anything about the film. Let's watch it and then talk afterwards. Yeah? Good?
And so everyone was coming out of it. We had so many of our clients we just don't.
Yes.
Working now? Yeah. Thank you so much, Pilvi, for sharing with us your film, The Stroker, or your video work, The Stroker. I would maybe start off by inviting you to tell some words about the work, to tell us a little bit about the context, what is the premise. Of course, we see a little bit, but I think maybe understanding a little bit about the framework and the context in which you came from would be interesting.
Sure. So this place where the film is shot is a co-working place and space in London called Second Home, who wanna stand out among the co-working spaces and be like better and more productive, and your business grows 10 times faster if you're in there. So they also wanted to have performance art, because it brings creativity and unexpected things, and people, again, become more productive as a result. So they believed. So I was actually invited to do something in this space, and I went to see it, and I really felt like uneasy about the whole context, and kind of decided like either I come up with something I really want to do, or if I should really stay away from this place. And that was actually the interesting thing, like why I want to make such a separation between myself and these people. Like there were a lot of like creative people working in this place, so it's not a workplace with like the normal or usual hierarchy with like people working in there. There are staff from Second Home, but then the members are kind of like customers of Second Home, like they rent space. Of course, it's a bit exclusive, so you might, they select who gets to rent space, at least they claim to do so. So it's kind of like, and it's full of this like, kind of undefined expectations and expectation to then succeed once you are in there, and like seemingly kind of no hierarchy and very free and whatever, but obviously even more than there would be in a traditional workplace where like your place in the hierarchy and who's the boss and who gives you orders and so on. Here it's kind of like you're all the time trying to outperform whatever, and so that was something where I wanted to just kind of escalate a bit what I already saw was kind of like, that felt uneasy. Like they offer this well-being program and different classes, and there's some like nice food and so on, so you can be more productive. So I then proposed that I kind of like add to their well-being program by this touching service. And importantly, I didn't want to do it in a way where nobody complains. So if I wanted to integrate this touching service, I think I could have done it. It just should have been a bit more slower. But on purpose, I wanted to create friction, so people start talking about like what, like, do we want this? What is it? You know. So I didn't kind of read the room. I did approach like people who maybe didn't want to be touched. There was always that was a big kind of thing to assess the line. Like, I'm not going to chase people and traumatize them, but I also don't want to just touch people who want to be touched, because then this will be normalized and I would be there for months and everything is fine and nobody complains. That I had to kind of play with that, kind of do it a bit more kind of like, do it in a different way than I would if I actually wanted to succeed with this business and have it implemented at Second Home.
Yeah, maybe a question, since we were talking now so much about the parasite, and you in your self-description, you have this kind of term of disruption. Mm-hmm. And in a way, I think that's a very interesting example, maybe also for all of the artists who go somewhere inside, how maybe you can create disruption, irritation with some very subtle gesture of care, which then turns into be a gesture of disruption, irritation, intrusion. So I wonder, you said like you already proposed, but when was the moment when you came up with that might be the right gesture? I mean, did you spend first like 1, 2, 3 weeks there, just living with them in this kind of second home? So how was the process to come to this small gesture, which then becomes so big, and so poetic, big, intrusive, like all these different layers, absurd at the same time?
Yeah, I didn't actually spend a lot of time there. I felt like I know this space, and that was like something weird. Like normally I do spend quite some time in places, but when I was there for like 3 days, I was like, close to home, what is this? So I spent 3 days, and then I went like back home and was like what to do with this. So it slowly kind of cooked the idea. And I guess here also, like, they accepted my proposal. I mean, there was a lot of weird things about how they are structured and how somebody gave it go ahead and the board actually hadn't, and whatever, like weird things. But in a way, they felt like this sounds like what we would do. But of course, they didn't really understand that I'm going to do it the way I'm doing it, and then it's kind of too late that it's already out there. And one of the staff members who didn't know that I'm also an artist and it's not just this like touching service experiment was also like in the film, there's a part where she's trying to like give me some advice, like you're maybe doing it like too much, like people might like to, whatever. So that there's this like friction comes when you're like, but Second Home is really like, this sounds like something we would do anyway, fits our well-being program, like go for it, whatever. So like something that already is there, like that could happen there, is then that just doing it a bit too much or a bit wrong, like just subtly wrong, is kind of enough to then cause irritation. And to cause irritation to the point, like I was there only 2 weeks, and that was, I guess, the time they could take, because irritation grew. And then when I wanted to go back to make this film, it was so hard to get access to go and film. Like they were really like, we don't want this again. Like, no. Then I'm like, no, but it's a film set. Like there's actors, like it's all like, nobody's going to be touched. It's all going to be fine. But then it's just like, and when I made the film, like I thought they would like to screen it or something. No. Do you want to come to my gallery? We're showing it like walking distance from Second Home. No, like we don't want anybody. We don't want to email anybody about you filming here, because like we don't want that the whole thing where people complained, which is quite different from some other places where I made work, and then like at least they try to then like embrace or say like, hey, we did this, but they kind of felt that they're too fragile and they don't want anything that seems negative or so on.
So just for clarification, you said you were there for 2 weeks. Was it planned for longer, or maybe with an extended, undefined timeline, and then they were like, okay, no, 2 weeks is as much as they can get? Or did you fulfill these 2 weeks because it was what originally was planned?
It was planned. It was a combination of what is the budget, how I can make time, how I think the time I need, Like, so it was I had a time that I had allocated for it. It was perhaps a few days more than 2 weeks, but just like, yeah, that was kind of predetermined. And also for them, like, they don't really, for them it was quite a small thing, like commission these performances. So other things had been like one thing in an afternoon, like for 1 hour, and this was already a bit like extensive.
I don't know. I must confess, I don't know if I have questions immediately. I have mainly thoughts. Also as accumulation of the past week of what we've seen here. And I will try to see if I can organize my thoughts before they come out of my mouth. But I think I would maybe draw back to Sunday and to our keynote speech from Anna Watkins Fisher, who talks about playing the system, the art of parasitic, art of parasitic resistance, exactly, where she talks exactly about the neoliberalization, the neoliberal politics, and how companies are trying to make themselves more open, or to be perceived as more open, as a new way of extraction. So this seems to me a little bit like a tactic, like this co-working maybe seems like a very big building, so probably also quite, it seems like an operator of neoliberal and late capitalism working politics and labor environments that even describes themselves as second home. So. And I find it incredibly paradoxical. Maybe it also comes with a little bit of my cultural background, that a place that is second home, where people might spend a lot of time together, are so estranged to touch. And I find it very interesting that you pointed out this with so simple, to ask how people are and to briefly touch them in the arm. But for them, it's a complete invasion of their personal space and of privacy. And to me, it shows a little bit of how perhaps alienated people are, and how something that, of course, I mean, you were well-intended, but at the same time, you were also clearly looking for this friction. But nevertheless, people felt this friction. They felt invaded. And to me, this friction could only happen because it's lacking. The personal touch, the communication is lacking there.
Yeah, and it's also a cultural thing, and this is like a British setup. Obviously, there are people from everywhere, and there were some people who read me just as nice, and they didn't register the touch as anything beyond like the normal boundaries. So there were some people who were just like always nice to me, like because they thought I'm somebody who's nice. And then the cleaner was like caring for me because she saw like the amount of rejection I was getting. So then she was like, "How are you doing?" So then there was this like somebody was looking like, "Oh no, like people are not nice back. What is this?" So it's also because I've done this remake with this like same few actors that everybody's playing like different roles, and for many reasons I made that decision. So maybe that doesn't show so much that there were also like just people who kind of read it normal, but majority of people didn't, it didn't read as normal, and it was just something a bit too much that wasn't part of the code there.
Maybe just a bit of technical question, because maybe that might be also relevant for all the artists. How did you record? I mean, you made this remake, but how did you, the 2 weeks of experience, did you have like a hidden cameras or had a diary? How did you have also make the process from then having the material to select to then reenact?
Yeah, I've, so part of my deal with Second Home was that I need someone to come with me, because I knew like if I do something, then I would like to probably like gather documentation and think what I'm gonna do with that it's not just a performance, but it's something, a research for me, or kind of, So I brought someone in who was kind of pretending to be a creative worker at Second Home, but who could like observe reactions when I couldn't see like what happens behind my back. We also choreographed so that, like I touch someone who comes out of the lift, I go into the lift and they kind of hear the reactions. So there was a lot of kind of gathering material in different ways, like definitely a diary. Then we used some hidden cameras, which I knew I will not want. I won't use that footage in the end because it's already so intrusive to like touch people, and I wouldn't have in that footage like the thing I'm interested in. But it was just a good way to kind of for myself to see like how it looks like, and also what people do with their bodies. Like, and that was one thing that I tried to like collect. That what are the like nonverbal negotiations that go on in that space, like what are the different ways of like evading or signaling that you maybe don't you like I see you like again, you know, like don't do it, or then like the ones where people are kind of a bit nervous but into it or something. So this was one way of collecting, and I recorded some like sound, so I have record some of the conversations are all like real ones that had been recorded and then like reenacted and then edited down. And some of the stuff collected like the conversation where they say like, have you seen the stroker? That was some conversation like a staff member then like recorded with their phone, where they just talked about like, oh, this person, and that also where the name came from, that they like gave me that name. So it was a kind of collection of material, but I knew I'm not gonna use that as is for many reasons. And then, so the emails and things are like the emails from the members. It's not like it's not exactly like somebody might have complained like verbally, and then I made an email based on that and came up with the company name that is like in line with the style of the, you know, so it's all kind of fictionalized in that way, but all based on like actual encounters that, you know, I kept track of in a diary. So the script was kind of like all the different encounters and reactions and gossip. And then in editing, I built the film, and I have a installation version with like 2 screens, but also this one. So, and I wasn't like, I didn't know exactly how I'm gonna make the art after the 2 weeks. So it took me quite some time to arrive to like, okay, I'm gonna try to make a remake, although there's so many ways to fail with it, but yeah, that seemed to be the only way forward.
Yeah, maybe one follow-up question, since that came up also in discussion within the Artists in the Week, about, you know, your own the boundaries, like when you're there 2 weeks and touch and you notice, okay, somebody doesn't want to be touched. How far did you go? When did you say, okay, that's really now intrusive? What did it happen do to you? You know, like by doing something gentle, which becomes like a weapon, or how was this process? And did you have like preset like a code of conduct for yourself beforehand? So how was this process?
Yeah, I had to kind of develop as I went, like how to do it. Like I only had this thing that I do want to like push like I can read from people like if they want to be touched or not, like that's fine. But I want to push that a little bit. So if you don't completely want to be touched, I might still try. But then if I know that you don't want to be touched, then I will not do it. So that there's some like, there's a level of like, but then that requires a lot of like attention to hit that. I mean, obviously I probably failed at hitting just that, but that was surprisingly exhausting, because then if I just decided I touch everyone and I don't care what they think, that would be easy. Like I just walk around and touch everyone, and you know, that's it. But here I really wanted to see also like how they react. I wanted to like read like where are they in this, like are they open to it or whatever. And then that kind of, then you also receive all the rejection like right away. So I had to like have breaks, and especially if somebody reacted quite strongly, I realized it's in my head, like I'm just like, what just happened? This person did this. So then I really had to go out of the space and be like, okay, this happened, make the notes, like talk to the person I was there with, and then like go back after I had like kind of downloaded that stuff, because then I keep thinking, oh, like that reaction, and then I meet new people, because if I walk, there will be new people coming, and then I just touch them and I don't even remember. So that kind of like how to handle that like emotional space, I had to figure it out. And I didn't think when I went in, like, okay, I need breaks, like a lot of breaks, but I had a space I could go to that is outside. I didn't want to be seen there. Sometimes I sat on the chairs also, but there I wanted to be seen just doing that and not doing so many other things. And then I could go out of the space and have a just around the corner and like sit and be like, okay, now I'm ready to go back in. So it was more exhausting that I had kind of realized. And then it does, like, I usually bring someone, so I have somebody to kind of, some ally who I can like immediately, and somebody who actually witnessed most of the things, like not everything, but kind of saw like that there was somebody who witnessed the same thing, like this person was really somehow off or aggressive even or whatever. And then we can like talk about it, and then it's possible to go back. But there's always a level of like sticking to it until you're done. So I think like after the 2 weeks, then I need like a full kind of break. So I went somewhere in London like towards the end, and then I explained someone what I'm doing, and they were like, oh, that must be like so exhausting. I'm like, I don't want to hear about it. Somehow like I didn't want to go into like how exhausting it actually is, but then afterwards I need like a total, at least like the same amount of time that I spent doing something like that. I need like just a time where everybody's nice to me or don't talk to me at all, or, you know, like kind of a retreat situation that then I can't like handle conflict very well, or, you know, I'm not like like a full person, but I kind of in a recovery mode. So there's, yeah, I kind of like use up my social energy or something like that, emotional resilience in that time.
And also to still stay with in irritation and confrontation, I mean, you already mentioned a few, but were there, you know, really confrontative, you know, people really saying, I do not consent? Because of course, when we're talking about personal space and personal touch, when it starts coming to our bodies, then it's important that, you know, then the consent is still negotiated. Were there people who articulated that, or then was this, you know, because then we're still in a corporate environment, so there are probably other channels, especially because it's you know, a modern or contemporary co-working institution or, you know, space. Probably they have their own organs to resort to. Were they using more? Did you notice if they were using more of these channels of report or to complain, like we saw a little bit in the film, or in the video, or were they also like really direct to you and be like, I don't want you to touch me at all?
I mean, it's all in the film, like the most, like this one woman was like turned around, like really? Like then it's quite clear like what she thinks of it. You don't have to do so much. And there's all the, you know, get my phone out, stare at it. Like there's a lot that people did where, and they might be the same people who then sent the complaint as well. I don't know like who did what, but there wasn't anybody who came to me like, hey, like, but that's also the nature of like my approach is not like, hello, can I ask you whether it would be okay to, so I just kind of go at it. So then they also send the signal like much more immediate with like how they, with their bodies. So it's all there in very small, like everything. And what I thought was like quite beautiful is how people, and that's why I also felt like this will somehow work, because people were like, we're supposed to like this, like we're supposed to, we shouldn't think it's weird. Like, but somehow now we talked and actually we all think it's weird. And I'm like, great that you had a talk about it. So that people really like, or you have to have a reason, like you have to have a skin allergy or something to exclude yourself from this. Although, yeah, and if it was about something else, like if they didn't like the soap in the bathroom, they would feel super okay to say like, hey, like the soap smells bad, can you change it? Or whatever, like that this introduced in this way, like that this is good for your productivity, it's new, we are open-minded. And even though the feedback was encouraged, it's still kind of hard to say like, hey, I don't want this. like this one guy sent this email where they were like, no, like this shouldn't be here, and this was a bad decision to do this. But otherwise, people were really kind of struggling with, can they say no to this? What is it? And I guess that, yeah, that's what's interesting to me, like how, like to bring that out, that conversation that, yeah, wouldn't be had otherwise.
Okay, I see already some questions. Maybe we can open up now. I don't know.
Maybe there's a mobile microphone.
Yes, if not, I
Fluffy one.
come here.
Hi, thank you for the presentation and the conversation. It's super interesting. Do you have any reflection post the process about the cultural formation of the societies? Because, well, I come from a completely different background. To touch is not something, including here I have a lot of cultural shock because I greet everybody with a hug. And I see how awkward this is sometimes. And we just see how it's in Indonesia, where you can just knock someone's door and spend hours inside. So I don't know, is there a reflection about how the society came up to be like this, where this is so invasive and so, you know, something to avoid at all costs? Sorry if I... But if you can share some reflection about this, if you have the time.
I don't know how. I don't know how we ended up there. Yeah, but I think the reason why I picked this up, or why I came up with this idea, is that Finland is also where I'm from. I'm Finnish, but I haven't lived there for 20 years. You know, when I go back, then I notice, wait, this personal space is like huge. So then there's just something you register that people kind of like walk back, or you know, that they create this space that then I got used to is not there, even, you know, even compared to some like other European contexts. So just that observation that it is very cultural and very different. But how did we get there? I don't know. It's so like, and even this place, like created community, like you're only part of the community if you're good enough, it's very transactional. And then everything, every well-being thing is there for you to be productive. So it's not, it's all like kind of, yeah, and also, I don't know, yeah, it's kind of the like, yeah, you're putting all these things, second home, you know, feel comfortable here, but it's kind of the opposite of that, because you go there and then you have zero excuse that you didn't make it in capitalism. So it's somehow, it's a very sad space, and that these things are brought in like in a transactional manner. And that was also a bit like, I'm some startup and I'm trying to now sell this, and there is research like a touch is good for you, you know. And I guess in care work, I mean, that's part of the thing, like that it has to be part of care work because people need it, and it's part of care. Like sometimes you need to help people doing something, but in general, like touch is part of also some kind of work, and it's being talked about in that way. But it also matters, of course, like who does it and what is the relationship. But I don't know how we got to this place.
Yes, we have now, maybe we do the last round, collect the questions. I have one here and then three in the back. Yeah, maybe you can pose after each other and then we collect them.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think just to connect maybe, I mean, at least in Europe, the distance was as well a guarantee for liberty of the subject at a certain moment, you know, in the idea of public sphere, that you keep distance was kind the guarantee or the base where you could exchange on a different level. But what I wanted to say, what I thought is interesting as well, is in this like economic situation, or let's say regarding like the industrial past, where you like isolated gestures, yeah, and this is what you did actually. You isolate a gesture, and that is what's so awkward, because it's isolated and you don't have any relation with those people. I mean, a gesture of touching we have it in like work context as well, but it's generally a gesture of power, for example, you know, it's a superior or a man with another man or whatever, or on the same level, but it's a man with a woman. It's already complicated. But yeah, you have this power relation, or it's a friendship relation, but you don't have any relation. And so this is this isolation of the gesture, which I find is interesting, because that's as well the ideology. If you could, with such a single gesture, achieve anything, I mean, you know, to have a better productivity or something like this. I mean, this is how it, yeah, just a thought, not a question.
Yep. I think the two back there, and then here, Michaela in front.
Hi, big fan. And I was curious about knowing some of your other works of where you've gone in disguise or came dressed like in Snow White, in like the right costume but in the wrong place. I'm just curious about like this relationship of like in this case, you had this mediation, this invitation as an artist. And I'm curious how that's been a different experience for you in these other things where you had to kind of come in clandestinely, and what it means to like come in as a kind of innocuous artist. Like in this case, they needed creativity, and how that also gives a certain form of access versus these other points where you really had to come in somehow invisible or hyper visible. So, yeah.
Just to add to this question, I was wondering how they could in a million years imagine that that this would be something working as art invited in this space. This is mind-boggling to me. And the second question is, since this is a remake, and what to you is the relation between the 2 weeks you spent there and the work you did there and the film we just saw? Could this work as well without the film, and what would have been there? Or to pose it differently, is the 2 weeks you spend there, is it research or is it the work? That would be.
Okay, how do I remember? Okay, final one.
One more. It's a lot, maybe, no? I don't know if it feels like it's a lot to answer all at once. Yeah? No, hi, thank you, first of all. It was super interesting. And my question is about the experience of like the sexualization of touch. Like there were some reactions that were like, oh, she fancies me. I wonder, like in your research, if this came up before or it was just something that happened during the process, and how did you deal with it, or what was your take on this?
Thank you. Okay, so maybe from back to front or something. Of course, like, yeah, there's this like who touches who in a workplace, like a big power game. But to me, I was again thinking, like, can I stand behind what I'm doing? Is it like it's enough open? Like usually when you sexually harass someone, the whole point is like it's not being talked about. It's kind of you assert that power, but it's not out in the open. Like, hello, I have a startup. Like, who will? So I felt like. And then, of course, with looking like this, with like female red body and so on, that if I was a dude, I probably wouldn't choose this intervention or many others that I've done. So you always come with the body that is there to use. So I did think about this a lot, of course, like, what, you know, and like just like what is how much do I assert like power over these people by this gesture? And that was just like all about kind of, yeah, thinking like, what can I stand behind as a person? Like, is it, you know, like you can, like every day there are situations where someone touches someone it wasn't really wanted, but it also is not like this type of thing where somebody's like asserting power and really like harassing. So just like moving in that space. And for me, really, the point that I'm trying to make this visible, like I'm trying to have people talk about this, is kind of the opposite of what normally when there's like unwanted touch, like it's often like very hard to even address or so on. So that was kind of my thinking around it. I don't know what I thought, like, will people think that they are singled out and so on? But then, I mean, they will quickly see that I touch everyone. So it's very quick, or someone will tell them. So I thought also that I'm seen doing that only, and it's quite apparent. And we also didn't send the email out immediately because I wanted to see how people verbalize what they observe. And then when there were a lot of buzz, we sent out the email to kind of see like if then people are encouraged to say more. If there's like, please give us feedback, there's this. So yeah, that's kind of how I dealt with it. And then there was a question about how the hell did they think that it's going to work? I think it would work in a way where, so my gesture was what would be normal if I know you. We work in the same space. I know you personally. We're not best friends, but I know you. And then I want to acknowledge you, like, hey, we're both like busy and going here and going there. But I just want to like acknowledge you, that I see you, I care, and I just say like, how are you? And it's not meant to be a long conversation, but just like acknowledge you as a person. And that would be totally fine if we had like sufficient contact beforehand. So the way I could have done it is to have sufficient contact, and then start doing it to the people who are already like totally open to it, or don't even see the touch as something you only do after, a long relationship, and then just advance to, with those who are a bit more reserved or whatever, and not do it to those who really never get into it. But I think in Second Home, they didn't think I don't think they thought that this is going to work in the way that everybody loves it and it's going to be a new thing and productivity goes up like crazy. So I think it was a mix of, like they did understand that it might be something weird, but it's only going to be a short time, and they can still kind of, to them it looks enough like something that they would do that they can have a go at it. So it wasn't exactly that they thought like, hey, this is great, people are going to be so productive after this. Then there was a question about like going in as an artist or going, I mean, for me, it's just like if I have access, it's privilege, it's something to be used for, like, I mean, not always. Like sometimes you have some access and you don't know what to do with it or how to use it. But if I have an invitation, then I usually consider, because it gives you more access. Like if somebody is already like, hey, we want art, then it's a totally different conversation. So it's not something like, there are situations where I find the way in because I want something and I think I can have a way in. But on the other hand, like just cold approaching places or, and then many people are just like getting jobs and not like approaching the institution or host as such, like, hello, I'm an artist and I want to parasite you, but like just going in the route that is available. So yeah, it's quite different, but since I had the invitations, then I just felt it's nice to explore like what that access can, like what is available when you have that kind of access. So I've had that chance, but yeah, it's quite different. But also the things that I've done without this kind of access, then the spaces are also more public. Like in front of Disneyland is public space, like anybody can go there. I don't need to ask anyone about showing up. So it's also a different kind of space then. And then to enter Second Home, I need some kind of position or invitation. I mean, I could also rent space there and then start touching people.
There was also just one question, which I find it very interesting because it was posed first in the first panel on Sunday, which is, well, you had these 2 weeks where you were there and it was more of a performance, but it was, and then you made the remake, and then I found this question very interesting: is do you consider these 2 weeks more research, or do you see it as, for example, performance art, and this is video art? Then
yeah. So just for my own sanity, I see that as research, because I don't control the experience. I'm not saying that performance artists control the experience of their audience ever, but somehow for me it's it could be totally uninteresting. I can't guarantee that this will be worth, we can call this art because it's so boring. No, but somehow it for me it just feels that I'm exploring something, I'm finding out something. It's not it's easier to tell myself this is not art. I mean, of course, to Second Home, they commissioned performance art and they got it. So it was that. But in my own process, I'm thinking this is research. And then when I make the video, I have, I control what's on it, and I can stand behind the choices that led to it in the way that I say, this is interesting, or you should look at this or whatever. So, and I stand behind, of course, my actions beforehand as well, but not in the sense that I would say everything that happened during those 2 weeks in Second Home was interesting. But that's just one way of framing it. It doesn't mean it's not necessarily the right way, or I don't mind. I could also think of it as performance, but it's just so the audience is then kind of they're the primary audience or something. But yeah, just for my own sanity, I like to think this is research. And also that I'm there because they don't know it's art, they don't know it's performance. So then we are in a bit different, it's just something that is happening. And yeah, later then I frame it as art. But yeah, it's one way of organizing it, not necessarily the good one.
Okay, maybe we come to an end, and maybe the questions who come up we can postpone to, I don't know if you also join for the dinner outside. So maybe, I don't know, if there's not a very urgent question, I would close that, and that we come to the final 5-10 minutes of closing. So then thank you very much for joining, for being here.